Good? All right. Anybody? All right, nope. Okay, we're back from closed session. City Attorney Pinckney, can you give a report out, please?
Yes, the council met in closed session. Item B1, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. And that was in the matter of Western Riverside Council of Governments versus Urban Logic Consultants. And the case number is RIC 1712042. And the other case numbers listed that are associated with that case. There was no reportable action taken. Item B2, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. And the property description, APN 417041001, with the City of Beaumont as potential buyer and Holchak Victor J. Estate as potential seller. There was no reportable action taken in closed session. Item B3, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The APNs are listed in the agenda, and there was no reportable action taken on that item. And then item B4 was public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, title City Manager. That was the annual City Manager evaluation. There was no reportable action taken. Item B5, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, and there was no reportable action taken on that item.
All right, thank you for that. We are now returning to, or going to begin the regular session of the Beaumont City Council for March 21st, 2023. Roll call, please.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Councilmember Laura?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Here.
And Mayor Martinez.
Here, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:25 PM. We stand for the pledge. Councilmember Voigt, would you lead us, please?
Ready? Begin.
Okay, do we have any adjustment requests to this agenda? Okay, seeing none, we have no items for agenda item E. That brings us to agenda item F, public comment period. Any one person may address the city council on any matter not on this agenda. There's a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments. The meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided on the front of the agenda. Anyone in person wishing to speak can do so by filling out a form at the back of the room and handing it to a staff member. I do want to add that if the power does go out, the generator will kick on the lights, but we cannot resume the meeting until we're back live streaming. So we'll have to wait until that comes back up to continue any business. And with that, do we have public comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll open it at 6:27 PM.
First speaker is Cara Fraze.
Hello, my daughter is missing from Beaumont, the city of Beaumont on the 79 at the Jack in the Box. She is 9 months pregnant. She is due next week. I have requested a search to be done for her and told that they cannot conduct a search. I am before you today requesting a petition that they please search for her. She was last seen off the 79 and First Street in Beaumont Avenue. We were former residents here. We lived here 5 years. And that's the first thing that I would like to request. And I know that, and put this information before you, if you can please check into her case. I understand that the chief of police reports to the city manager, who reports to the mayor, who reports to the city council. And that's why I'm here. based on the order of how things are run in the city, that I'm not here to complain about that I've had to be the one to go to businesses to get video footage of what happened, or the lack of, care into the case. But I will say that if you can please hear my petition, that I'm requesting a search party be done for her, especially that she is due next week. The second thing that I would like to request is there has been information posted on the Beaumont Facebook page that is our confidential information. I have requested that information be taken down. It was never public record until Beaumont made it public record. For example, my daughter's middle name, that's private information for us. The city which we reside in is private information for us. What happened on that night is false information. I've asked them to remove that. That's not what happened. And the fourth thing was, let me see, it was 30 seconds. Basically, to remove the place where we reside. We're getting threats from people that are coming to our family. They should not be coming to us in the place where we reside at. They should be coming to the Beaumont Police Department. All information should lead them back to you, not to our home where we reside. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and I'm truly sorry. And ma'am, I do want to reiterate that state law prohibits our discussion or comments on this item at this point. So I'll be discussing with staff, and we'll continue this at another time. Appreciate that. Continue with public comments, please.
Next speaker is Anita Worthen.
Thank you. Understanding. I'm here to say thank you so much to Mercedes. We here have always had at our Four Seasons people to talk about different things that's going on, agencies. Southern California Gas was to come and talk to us because all of us have had the tremendous gas bills, but because of the snow and everything, he was not able to come. And at the very last moment, I called Mercedes and said, please, can you come and talk? And at the last minute, she did that. And I want to give kudos to Mercedes for doing that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The second thing that I want to talk about is, of course, with the development of all of the traffic on the I-10 freeway, and of course, all of you know what happened on Thursday at the 10 with the fatality and things that happened. I would encourage, and I did have a conversation with Senator Rosalicia, and she was saying, please, we needed the support from others to say, yes, we do need to have that continued rail and continued traffic there. Well, not continued traffic, I will say, Alicia, who is a part of Mendoza, who is a part of our Beaumont Transit. She's been so great in helping us. It's RTA, Beaumont, Banning Transit, and I will say that Mayor Pro Tem David Finn has been absolutely wonderful, but we need the support of the city because there are others that are saying that we don't want all of these people from LA and other places to come down to Coachella. But you know that I do a lot with the veterans, military, family, and friends. And unfortunately, there are so many veterans who cannot get to the VA Loma Linda because of transit. And I will say, Alicia and Beaumont Transit has been very great in helping us. So we need the support of you guys to say, please go with Senator Rosalicia, with the Congressman Ruiz and Calvert to say, let's help our veterans, military, family, and friends. Thank you, and let's get the transportation on the 10 out so we can get the people to help what we need to help.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Kathleen Billinger.
I'm just support.
Alrighty. Good evening. My name is Kathleen Missy Bellinger. My husband Matt and I are the USA Pickleball Association ambassadors for the city of Beaumont. You guys didn't even know that existed, right? So we represent the city of Beaumont wherever we play, and we play all over the place. April is National Pickleball Month, and we wanted to introduce ourselves and our Beaumont Pickleball Club. We have our board members. It is our intent to grow the game of pickleball within the city of Beaumont and to make the city of Beaumont a pickleball destination. As the #1 growing sport in the United States, we know that pickleballers travel with their paddles and are always looking for new places to play. We look forward to working with the city to build courts that will attract people to our beautiful city and will become an economic driver. It is known that we play for a few hours and we always say, where are we going to eat? Stay connected with us and follow us on Beaumont Pickleball Club on Facebook and Instagram. And we look forward to a great partnership with the city. And enjoy your pickles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker is Dan Jaggers.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I was actually going to speak on I-1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I put
okay.
it in the wrong pile. I'm sorry. I may have a caller online. Rudy, do we have a caller on the line?
I have a caller on the line.
Okay, go ahead and send them through. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you. And I always appreciate virtual access, especially on a rainy night. So thank you, City Council. This is Ron Roy, and I'm having a problem with item B3 in session, which involves the sale of 59.41 acres of land. First, when did the city of Beaumont acquire the 59.41 acres? It comprises of 3 parcels. And did the city buy the land? Was it donated? And how long has the city owned these parcels? Now, are there any conditions on the city for its use? And most importantly, if the city owns the land, why aren't the residents of Beaumont given an opportunity to determine the ultimate use of these parcels? The city should not be attempting to sell without a process of informing citizens that the city owns these parcels and then letting residents decide how the land should be used. Residents may not want to sell the land. For example, there are other needs for residents, such as sports fields, like the pickleball community, and sports and community centers. Also, the cost savings to residents could be enormous. City-owned land is tax exempt. The land is already city-owned, so if citizens want sports fields, a park, etc., millions of dollars will not have to be spent to purchase the land. Also, 2 of the parcels are over 20 acres, which can support West Beaumont soccer fields. For example, Beaumont's existing sports park is 20 acres. So this whole attempted sale is wrong. if the city's council sell this land to a Newport Beach warehouse developer, ASM Beaumont Investors LLC, it's a flat-out endorsement by the city council to approve more high-tube, mega-sized warehouses that will further harm the health and property values of the nearby Olivewood community and other resident communities. So the last time I checked, this land belongs to the residents of Beaumont, not the city council. So let the citizens of Beaumont decide how this land should be used, not a warehouse developer. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Roy, you're there? All right. All right, further speakers?
Rudy, do we have any other callers on the line?
I have no other callers on the line.
No other speakers.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we will close public comment at 6:39 PM and move to consent calendar, item G. Do we have any items to be discussed or pulled by council? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the consent calendar G1 through G5.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn,
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. With that, we'll move to item H. H is the Youth Council report. And tonight, we do have a member of the Youth Council to report. Do we have any public comments on H?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, with that, we'll bring our director, Mary Jane Diaz, up to the podium to report on the Youth Council meeting that we conducted last week. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm here to obviously report on our last meeting, which took place March 14th, 2023. Well, we first began with roll call, and then we proceeded to appoint myself as director with the help of Mayor Martinez. Then we went on to the election of board positions. Our board positions consist of director, which is myself, assistant director, secretary, philanthropic chair, and event coordinator. With these positions in this election, we went ahead and did a closed ballot to make sure that the election was fair, and we gave everyone the chance to speak for a minute and state why they were deserving of the position, what they would provide, and everything that consists with that. We then proceeded to select a member to attend the Economic Development Committee, a student member. For that, we also did a closed ballot and allowed students to speak on why they wanted to have that position and attend the committee. We then proceeded to, we motioned to adopt our bylaws. These bylaws, we went ahead and went over together. We made a few changes to them, but in the end, we went ahead and adopted our bylaws. Finally, to conclude that, we gave everyone the chance to speak. And we also went ahead and went over the renovations, which are taking place at Stewart Park. We let someone come in and speak to us and discuss the renovations which are taking place. We took a couple moments to discuss it, share our thoughts on the renovations, what we enjoyed, what we liked, what we wanted to see, how excited we are for the renovations. And then we went ahead and closed out our meeting. Finally, I would like to ask you if you have anything you would like us to discuss at our next meeting, anything you would like us to change, anything you want to hear from us. Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you. If there's anything or any suggestions from the council in regards to Stewart Park, where the council would like, at least myself, and I'd assume the council would like to hear from our youth and what they'd like to see in the park. So if you guys have a general consensus of maybe, excuse me, some changes or suggestions, bring that back to us, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, yeah, well, we went over all the renovations and the plans that they had, everything that they already have laid out, and we loved them. We love the idea of the splash pad and everything that's to come. And we are very excited for all of it. We are in agreement with everything that is happening.
Okay, and then one more suggestion is if you can think of any service opportunities that the council can help coordinate to get the youth in Beaumont involved. And city staff will have things from time to time. As a matter of fact, we have a community cleanup coming up and so forth. So if you can keep that in mind and maybe make that an as-needed basis when things come up to maybe the youth council can help get the word out to the schools and so forth, that would be appreciated.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we appreciate it, and we'll continue, and that's an excellent suggestion. Thank you for that. And again, congratulations on your directorship.
Thank you.
See, it wasn't too bad. All right, thank you, MJ.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Right, that takes us to item I, public hearings. And we have I1, continued public hearing and consideration of the resolution adopting an updated user fee schedule. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On September 20th of '22, city staff brought forward a cost of services study. That study was prepared by RCS, Revenue and Cost Specialist. What they did is they looked at the city's fees and then determined the cost for each fee and whether that revenue from the fees supported those fees totally for the cost recovery or if they were being subsidized by taxes. RCS does suggest that personal choice services are fully covered by the fee rather than subsidized by the community, but council does have discretion over that. On December 20th of '22, council received possible options relating to community services department, sports field fees, and facility rentals. At that time, the proposed fee schedule was discussed, and a handbook was discussed with City Council at that time. In January, City Council discussed with staff proposed recreation fees. New fees have been suggested to offset public expenses to operate and maintain those fields and the facilities. The handbook was adopted at that time, and that will help staff to work with the different organizations as far as what fees will be used for those services. On February 7th, City Council reviewed proposed fee changes. At that time, recommendations were made, one of them being for a minor special event permit. So that change was made in the proposed changes from $1,288 per application to a deposit-based fee of $500. And on March 7th, we opened up a public hearing to review the new proposed fees in the schedule. And that was continued because one of the attachments to the resolution was cut off when the agenda was posted. So we went ahead and recommended to continue the public hearing, so that way the public could look at those attachments to the resolution and provide any feedback that they needed in a timely manner. So we are here this evening to continue that public hearing. We are recommending that the effective date of these fees is July 1st. That will allow staff time to update our systems, get everything ready, and it's also a clean start to a new fiscal year. The fiscal impact is RCS has provided an estimate of cost recovery revenue of $702,300. And with that, the recommended action is to continue the public hearing and waive the full reading, adopt by title only, a resolution of the City Council of Beaumont adopting a comprehensive user fee study, and adopting a comprehensive fee schedule, establishing user fees for certain specified services. And with that, I'm available for any questions. We have RCS on the line who prepared the fee study, as well as staff.
All right, thank you for that. So this public hearing was continued from the prior meeting on March 7th. So it is still open. So we'll have public comment at this point.
If you could open the public comment time, please.
6:48.
Thank you very much. First speaker is Dan Jaggers.
I promise to try and make this 3 minutes. So Those who know me will know I'm challenged with that. But appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to discuss some of the user fees, encroachment permits, and things like that in particular. Our district continues to work through the encroachments within the city and the fees associated with that, as well as our pavement activities. I've been meeting with Ms. Gibbs and Mr. Hart to discuss sort of approaches where we can partner well with the city. Hopefully, we can find resolution. But I thought it was worth coming over here and having a quick discussion. In 2021, our district asked for a blanket encroachment permit. It was denied at the time because the city was implementing in earnest your pavement management moratorium activities. And so we've tried to be good partners and work with the city to sort of get a streamlined approach to those activities. The things I don't see in the fee are a blanket encroachment permit fee. If that was to be issued, we pay one with the County of Riverside. It's about $2,000 a year. And one with the city of Calamasa, I think it's a few $100s a year. We don't usually get into the city of Calamasa Street. We don't have many facilities there. That being said, we're concerned about that. I have a recent encroachment permit fee. We pay a $50 application fee, $125 administration fee, $300 inspection fee, which is 2 hours of estimated time, and then some surcharges. And so why we're here tonight is the city's Code of Ordinance 12.12.150 provides for the opportunity for a blanket permit. We'd like to work towards that or some version of a better streamlined approach. Interestingly enough, in 2021, we had 56 encroachments in the city. That the encroachment permit fees were $41,574.26, the way I kind of tally that up. The average cost per encroachment permit in 2021 was $729.37 to our district. And then our pavement repair to meet the requirements of those encroachment permits was $400,000. It was about the same in 2022, $41,538 for the encroachment permits, about $585 per permit. And we think by the time we finish, we'll be about $500,000 in pavement repair. And we're running about $542 on the average for this year. So we're interested in working with the city. We'd like to have an opportunity to consider where you're a repeat customer, where you're doing 60 or 70 fees that might be more aligned with not training a new person to do that work every time, which I don't know how the fees were allocated in the report, but I think because we're here all the time, we probably have a better partnership at this point with the city staff. So with that, I'll say, I just want to register my concerns about that so that we're on the record, and we look forward to working with city staff to try and find a path forward. Thank you, between us and the
Appreciate
city.
that. Thank you, Mr. Jaggers.
If there's no questions, I'll sit down.
No, I think we're good at this point. Thank you. So continue on with public comment. Do we have anyone else?
Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, so with that, we will close the public hearing, 6:52 PM, and open it up for discussion from council. Now you'll see, Councilmember Voigt?
Yeah, can we bring Mr. Jaggers back up real quick? I just have a quick question. Why do you think so many, can you just explain why so many encroachment requests are made? Because I'm assuming you were at 56 for 2021. Your cost is going down slightly, so maybe we anticipate less, but is there maintenance concerns? Are we, I mean, what are the reasonings for these encroachments?
The city has implemented an aggressive paving program, and not to say that that's the reason for it, but we've seen some increased leakage over the last couple of years. I have a couple of thoughts why that is, but I'll just say we used to see about 40 pavement encroachments in the city, mostly old lines, poor, low services that are in need of replacement. They're polypropylene or they're galvanized, and we have actually reprogrammed about $6.5 million to get in front of the city's paving projects, but we weren't able to get them all done. And so we have areas of access, and when we have leaks because of things like that, that's sort of the cost as we go to do the work, I guess. And I think all of the local area water districts that I call around and talk to are suffering from services installed in the 70s and 80s that are of the same construction. They're at the end of their service life, and they just can't get ahead of the payment programs that the cities are running or the counties to do it all prior to, because it might be a $4 million project to replace the services we have based on some preliminary estimates.
What are the future plans then to prevent the request or to see them decrease? I think what I'm looking at is how do I ensure that your current practices are going to establish longevity?
So we've got a project we're doing in front of one of your paving projects. It's a pipeline replacement project along Fifth Street in Michigan. We've got plans that have been plan checked by the city. It's $1 million and some change, and so we're doing that. We have 104 services that we're trying to get replaced in front of one of your paving projects. We anticipate that probable cost is about $800,000. I think the plans are pretty much through plan check, and we're trying to get it. We've ordered the parts and materials for all that stuff. Our board's been proactive and has pre-purchased the materials for that. And so those are the things we're doing. We're looking at your paving programs. We're working with city engineering staff, trying to get ahead of it. And doesn't mean we'll be perfect at it, and we only have so much money. We've reprogrammed all of our CIP over the last 4 years to accommodate doing work in front of the paving program. So we're working diligently to try and be a good civic partner. But we have lines, just like the sewer lines in the city, that are antiquated, and there's not enough money in the bank to do it all. So.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then the final thing is I think the growth in the city puts more hydraulic stress on the old lines in the heart of the city, and that's where we see a lot of our leaks. Thank you.
Question for Mr. Jaggers?
No, comment
All right.
for.
Thank you, Dan.
For Mrs. Voigt. The background is that when we started paving all the streets, we wanted to make sure that if we put in an investment into a street and then the water district needed to get in and do some work, that we minimize the cost as much as possible by working with the water district to let them know which streets we're paving and what roads are coming up. And so that's sort of the background of this moratorium. And it was sort of to protect our investments into the streets and working on that. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on that.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Yes, excuse me, it's kind of for staff to see if there's any rebuttal to Mr. Jagger's comments. I appreciate what he brings up, and I understand the fact that it's the public's money, and if we pave the street and then it has to be torn up, right after, that doesn't make sense all the time. But I also do remember, as a member of the public, I stood at that podium in front of the council and said, the streets are an embarrassment to the city, and they were really bad. And when you can go through and rehab the city in terms of the streets and so forth, it brings up the quote-unquote curb appeal and can result in higher assessed values for property values and so forth, and that has its benefits. So I'm certainly don't want to go and mess up the system in terms of what is scheduled and so forth, and I assume and trust staff that they have gone through things in detail as it makes sense of what to do next in terms of urgency and priority of the streets and so forth. But is there anything that staff can do or report back on additionally that they're working with the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District to make sure it's the best happy medium that we can provide?
And just for clarification, Councilmember Finn, are you talking about the pavement standards or the encroachment, the blanket encroachment permit?
I guess maybe with the blanket encroachment permit of, I don't want to see I don't want it to where the city has the reputation of, we're doing it this way, here's the roads we're doing, and we're not going to bend and so forth, and then the public ends up paying for it on the back end because they've had to pay more through the water district for projects. And so I'm just talking through that process to make sure and that we identify to the public that we're not ignoring them, but we're trying to take care of them at the same time.
And that is correct. So Mr. Jaggers and I and Mr. Hart and Mr. Swanson have met a couple different times, and we plan to meet again to talk through the ordinance that was adopted. I think it's 1117. As far as the blanket encroachment permit, which would be part of the fee study adoption tonight, that has not been explored. And so I would have to bring back an item to council for further detail.
Okay, and then last thing, and if I get off topic too much, council, please correct me on this, but is there another wave of street improvements that will further complicate Cherry Valley's needs for replacement? Or is this next second round pretty much cover and catch us up to date on where, and I know that roads are always gonna need to be done, but in terms of the mass project that we have in place, I know that this to be round 2 since I've been here, is there a round 3 coming in 6 months or 5 years or?
There is a round every year. Council has publicly committed to programming $1.5 million every year for pavement management so that we don't get behind like we were before. And so you will be seeing that dollar amount, if not more, in next year's budget.
And then that project list then be communicated?
Correct.
To everybody involved?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the two things, the blanket encroachment permit, I think that's something that makes sense. Sounds like it's a fairly good idea. And then the standards, the repair standards that Mr. Jaggers refers to, what do we?
We're talking.
Yeah, that's not really on the agenda tonight. The
Okay.
repair standards,
My
but the-
apologies.
the-
So-
The first part, I think, is within the scope of this
Okay,
item.
thank you.
And just to follow up on that, I can bring an item back to discuss that separately, the blanket
Okay.
encroachment permit.
Okay. You know, that, there's a reference made to an aggressive paving plan. What I can say is, in the downtown area, at least in the area that I live around, it had been over 50 years where streets had not been paved. I'm not sure that's very aggressive, but, did we give advance notice to the Water District to let them know what areas we would be doing? And do you roughly have an idea of how far of an advance notice they were given to try to plan ahead for that?
I don't know how far in advance, but there is notice given. We work pretty closely
Okay.
with Dan.
Well, and then hopefully there's an opportunity for the Water District to work with us on the new park coming up as well. I know that they've got some old water lines in there, and there may be an opportunity where we can get a resolution, and maybe they can get out ahead of that one, and we can help with that. But that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, so my question has to do back to that blanket permit as it relates to the fee adoption. So if we were to adopt the fee schedule today, then where does that put us for discussion on a blanket permit? Would it not be possible because it wasn't studied? Is it something that an ordinance can do through council action? Or would we have to not be able to pass the fee study on the fee at this point, the schedule, and then wait until that came back, and then would RCS have to weigh in on that, or where are we at on that?
Well, what I would recommend is that we bring it back for discussion conceptually before we get too far into what the actual fee would look like. We do have the cost allocation plan, which sets how much time. We would have to do some calculations and bring back some proposals, but it would have to be a public hearing.
So we'd have to continue this again another time.
I would not recommend that. I would recommend we finalize this and then we explore that
Okay.
particular.
That was my question. So
Yeah.
we can continue, I mean, we could go ahead and pass this if council wishes, and then bring that as another item to discuss and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Lar?
On that, Mayor, and a suggestion is if we approve these deposit-based type fees, that blanket permit may just be coming to an agreement on what that initial deposit would be for an encroachment permit for the Water District. So it gives us that flexibility, in my opinion.
Okay, well, and that's a good way of looking at it. I really try not to delay this anymore. We've already had, what, five ups on this, since February, so that's my whole goal, is to try to move on, but still entertain some way of maybe discussing that. Councilmember Voigt?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a motion.
Okay. So let it be.
All right, I'd like to
Please.
make a motion to move to adopt a resolution of the City Council of Beaumont adopting a comprehensive user fee study and adopting a comprehensive fee schedule establishing user fees for certain specified services.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn,
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. Thank you, and that brings us to item I2, public hearing and consideration of proposed amendments to Beaumont Municipal Code Chapters 13.08.110 and 13.09. Staff report?
Good evening, Mayor. Before you this evening is a request for consideration of some proposed amendments to the municipal code addressing the FOG program and sewer lateral maintenance. So back on February 28th, City Council held a workshop where the SSMP and FOG programs were presented. At that workshop, staff received direction to proceed with adoption of the SSMP, which occurred on consent calendar this evening, and the necessary ordinance changes to implement the FOG program, which is what we're talking about right now. There are a number of changes to the FOG ordinance, and that's actually included in the second part of your staff report. It outlines the program details in the attachment, and there were too many to list out, so you have the red line version. But it was presented at the workshop, and so those changes were incorporated as presented, and that's what's before you this evening. In addition to that, we have one change included on page 1 of the staff report, which is to the maintenance of sewer laterals. And the language is changing to reflect that if there is failure of a service lateral, that the city can make the repairs and place a lien on the property for which the service was, for where the service was provided. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thaxton Van Bell, our General Manager of Utilities, is here this evening as well to answer any questions on the program. And like I said, the red line to the attachments, or the red line to the ordinance, are included in the attachments, and we can answer any questions you may have about what's presented this evening.
All right, thank you for that. I'll open public hearing at 7:06 PM. Do we have comment?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, with that, we'll close public hearing at 7:06 PM and open for council discussion. Mayor Pro Tem Finn.
Yes, just quick question for Ms. Taylor. So that lien that you're referencing, I'd imagine then there's some type of notice that goes to the property owner first, and then they have an opportunity to pay, and then if they don't, then it goes through the standard procedures as if any other, unpaid, bill comes through, correct? So same process?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to waive the first full readings and approve by titles only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Beaumont amending Chapter 13.08.110 concerning maintenance of sewer laterals of the City of Beaumont Municipal Code, and an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Beaumont, California, amending Chapter 13.09 concerning regulating fats, oils, and grease, or FOG, of the Beaumont Municipal Code.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn,
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. And with that, that'll take it to item J for action items. J1 is the adoption of the strategic plan. Staff report.
The moment that you've all been waiting for.
Yes.
So before the meeting, we passed out the actual strategic plan, which will be the Exhibit A for the resolution that's in the packet. But I also wanted to let the public know that there are hard copies in the back, and this will be posted online for review. So back in January, we held a workshop, and City Council and executive staff came together. And the first step in that process was to review a survey that was handed out to the public for 3 or 4 weeks prior to that workshop. We received almost 1,000 survey responses from the community asking or answering questions such as, what are we doing well? What do we need to improve? Things like that. So those surveys were then rolled up into the discussion that council and staff had on what are the key pillars or the target areas for Beaumont's strategic plan. And from that workshop, council adopted 5. They are communications and relationships, infrastructure projects and traffic, economic development downtown, finances and resources, and quality of life well-being. And then under those 5 key areas or target areas, council then, I don't want to say approved, council then rolled into that 50 goals that were then prioritized. And out of the 50 goals, 30 of those were considered priority. Those 30 were then divided up into level 1, high priority, level 2, medium priority, and then level 3, priority. So each of those levels, so you have level 1, level 2, level 3, then have 10 priorities within them. And so the strategic plan workshop was then closed. And from there, staff set out to create action plans for each of those goals. And so tonight before you, you have staff's proposed action plans on how to achieve each of the goals that council has set during the workshop. So with that, tonight's recommendation is to waive the full reading and adopt by title only a resolution of the City Council of the City of Beaumont approving the 2023 strategic plan. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Very well, thank you. All right, so do we have public comment?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, so seeing no comment, we will open the to council discussion. We have Mayor Pro Tem Finn, would you like to jump?
Yes, thank you. It's more of just a suggestion, and I think staff probably has plans to do this, but is getting this out to the public. I love our little, city at a glance sheets and so forth that are going out there to say, hey, here's our strategic plan and so forth, that, go out as a social media post, and then an easy way to find it on the website, accountability towards it and so forth, and kind of gives us our roadmap. And so if we're able to put that out there, and I'm sure that staff has a plan, and if you're able to report on that, that would be appreciated.
I do, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that intro. So we are looking at software. We have demoed 2 separate strategic plan software that is web-based, and it will be, we're going to go with the free one. And we demoed it, we like it. It will be on the website, there will be a link, and it will show up to the minute progress on each of these action plans and each of these goals that staff is achieving throughout the next year or 2. And so at any time, any member of the public can look and say, where are they at with the goal for downtown? And it will be very clear on what the action items are, what the time frame is, and then how far we are, if we're on target, if we're behind, if we're ahead. This is going to be a great benefit for things like Potrero, 2nd Street, Pennsylvania Grade SEP. It will show the public and council up to the minute progress.
Any further comments or questions at the moment? We're still looking it through. I'll make a few while we're looking it over. So I like how we're transparent with the public on the SWAT. Everything is clear. We discussed, we have a very candid discussion within council and within staff on that meeting, at that workshop, where we let threats and weaknesses out, and we were, open about it so that we can truly do a self-reflection and evaluation of where we're at and where we want to go. That needs to be done in order to really solve problems and to move ahead. So I can see that here in the report, and thank you for that. And I wanted to reiterate that to the public so that they understood that this wasn't just patting ourselves on the back on everything that's been doing well. We do have issues, and we tend to address those, and this is kind of that first step as far as moving in that direction. This was a year plan for a strategic vision. So my question to you is, we had discussed, you and I, about a long-term vision and plan. What do you see, or how do you see that maybe coming about in the near future? Perhaps maybe at the end of this year, looking at a 5-year, or are you looking at maybe a yearly, and then at what point would you look at the long term? That's my kind of question for you.
So first, this is the strategic plan for 2023, but if you look through the action items, I don't want to say most, some of these do roll out 3, 4, 5 years. For example, the police station, the new police station, that's a multi-year project. This is key for staff's ability to propose a budget to city council, which we propose to do April 18th. You'll see your first budget workshop on April 18th. So this is the roadmap to ensure that we're including council's goals and objectives into that budget. And then from there, that obviously is a 1-year budget, but from there, then we can also set the capital improvement program, which is a 5-year program. As for another strategic plan, my proposal will be not to hold another workshop next year, but to refresh this to see where we're at. The next time you will see this document will be at the mid-year budget review. This will be part of the mid-year budget presentation to say, this is where we're at. Maybe we need to redirect an action plan, but that will start the process for the next 24-25 budget. So then we'll present a refresh.
And that was the second part is, where are we going from here? So thank you. You got a hint on that. And thank you for differentiating between a plan and the priorities of the budget. That was important to realize, that we have the vision and plan, but the budget is the yearly and how we get there. And I also want to, again, point out to the public that this is what we use along with our lobbyists and so forth as we go and talk to our federal and state legislators for funding for these projects. So we show that we have our plan, council has approved the plan, the community has weighed in on comments, and that helps us go forward with what our goals are. Any other comments and questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion for this wonderful strategic plan. Oh, we do, it just popped up.
Really quickly, I just wanted to say thanks to staff and the efforts that they made in putting this together, the efforts that they made in getting those pop-ups out to the community. I think we did a great job in looking at different ways of getting that information out there so that we could get a lot of surveys. We almost got 1,000 surveys returned, which is better than we've had in the past. So just thanks to staff for their efforts. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right. With that, review and provide direction. Let's see where we're at. Waive the full reading. Does anybody want to make the motion? If not, I'll make the motion to waive the full reading and adopt by title only a resolution of the City Council of the City of Beaumont approving the 2023 strategic plan.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes, thank you. With that, we are on J2, the fiscal year 2023-2024 draft short-range transit plan. Staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As City Manager Gibbs stated, we're in budget season. I have before you the draft of the Table 4 that we have submitted to RCTC in regards to our plan for next fiscal year. Overall, it's about a $9.5 million budget and includes everything from LTF, our Measure A funds, and our capital improvement projects. We're looking at replacing a larger group of vehicles this next year, making some bus stop improvements to include lighting, some other things like that. We also have some planned service highlights we'd like to point out to you this evening in regards to continuing our discounted fare. We would like to bring an item back to council if you give me consensus this evening to increase our transportation fare, if you will. It was something that was recommended in the 2020 COA, the review that they did. Obviously, COVID hit. We put that all on hold. We found out working with RCTC's staff that we can utilize our LC-TOP funding to offset any fare increases we're providing. Our team's working very closely with Eric and his entire team at RCTC to try to figure out how we can catalog costs appropriately, making sure that things that are counted towards our fare box recovery are, and what isn't is cataloged separately, learning how to budget a little bit smarter, I think. His staff has been very helpful in that. We want to increase our travel training. I think some of you may have gotten the recent flyer. We're going to start connecting our passengers down to Redlands to utilize the Arrow as well as San Bernardino. We have some ideas to run some summer travel training, teach the kids how to get to the beach, that sort of thing. So we'd like to increase that. We want to increase service on our commuter route, 125 to Redlands, as I discussed, increase some time points, add an additional, we call it a 7-tripper, add an additional service for our kids, for our students that utilize the Route 7, which is our extreme west end, adding another bus that comes along behind them that comes up along Potrero and hits the extreme west end of Oak Valley Parkway, so that's very beneficial. And then just adjust our casino route times. Staff and the drivers conducted about a 21-day survey looking at where are we getting on, where are we getting off, what are we most utilizing, and came up with the adjustments that you see before you tonight. As you know, we rely heavily on our public relies heavily on public transportation. We have increased, brought back 44% of our ridership from pre-COVID. So our numbers are headed back up. I had a couple questions in regards to the fare box. I know we have an anticipated increase that's been looming over our head for at least 2 years that we've been talking about. Fortunately for us, they haven't certified the 2020 census. Once they certify the census, then our 5-year clock will begin on trying to step us into that 20% fare box recovery. Current to date, we're running about 11 to 12%, so we're looking to make it this year. And as you can see with the projected budget before you this evening, we're looking at 12.41. And again, we're going to continue to work with Eric and his staff at RCTC to increase that even more. With that, I have a team of staff here that can answer any questions you might have about the route changes we're proposing and the budget that we've got in front of you this evening.
Okay, thank you for that. Public comment.
Excuse my
Do we have
voice.
public comment at this
What's
time?
going on?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have one caller in the line.
Okay.
All right, with that, I'll open public comment at 7:21 PM.
Go ahead and send him through. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Yes, this is Ron Roy again, and I'm calling about the short-range transit plan. First of all, I've always liked the sovereignty of past area transit. I know right now the political climate is you need Beaumont and Banning as separate entities, but I always felt long-term you're going to get more service, better service to the past area. So first, real quickly, I think that Casino Express looks like somebody's doing some work, and they have been tweaking it to reach West Beaumont, the Amazon warehouse. I kind of looks like that's a step in the right direction. And I support the commuter link bus service. A couple of issues for West Beaumont residents on Fairway Canyon would always be nice if we could have some kind of direct connect service between our housing tracts and 2nd Street Marketplace, that retail area. That would always be nice. And hopefully we can do that. Now, another area I think that's really important, I think there's a lot of potential, is if you could extend Commuter Link bus service from the Beaumont Transit Center all the way out to the shops at Palm Desert, out to Palm Desert. And I just think there's a huge potential. You have starting with the youth, they can go there for, job education. There's some really good schools out there, and I feel they have the right to try those out. Seniors would go out there for recreation and also shopping. And so I do think there's a huge potential there. I know that there's some real-time blowback from Sunline. They're very powerful, and they write very good letters supporting why they can, create a route through the pass so they can, there's that. But I hope you can look at that potential. We, need to remember that with the cost of transit, a community bus service is incredibly affordable. You don't need a separate rail serve. You don't have to buy a third right away. You use the existing road system. You can share purchasing of transit buses with other agencies. I probably belong all by myself here, but I do know it would help if we could get some more political will to get that community bus service out there. Get out there at Palm Desert about 6:30 in the morning and start from there. A demonstration project would be really good way to go. So, I think there's a lot of underserved Pass area residents who would really be appreciative. So that's it for now, but please push that harder. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close public comment at 7:25 PM and open for council discussion. Councilmember Lara, we'll start with you. Oh, Mayor Pro Tem Finn.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm still formulating my question, but,
Okay,
but I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
In reference to, the Route, 72, that's just one of the many routes that are through Beaumont, am I correct in that? And that's just the one that's being modified, correct? Okay. And then,
We're proposing to add a second Route 7, basically. This one will come directly behind the existing bus that goes, come up a different
okay.
trail.
And then from that, obviously, looks like it's school-based and so forth. How often does the city meet with the school district to find out what the needs are in the community for kids that need rides to school? And do those need to be adjusted often, and are we meeting those needs?
Right. Elisa has a direct connection to the transportation department and meets with them probably on a monthly basis.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm loud anyway. Elisa's here in the room. I can let her speak to that if she'd like to, but I know she has an open line of communication with the Beaumont Transportation Department.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Please do.
I do communicate with Beaumont Unified. We talk about transportation. There's a program also to provide monthly passes to students. And so we're in communication and we help each other out with students that need more services. So right now, nothing has changed. We are proposing to mirror some of their operation hours. So that will be in next fiscal year. And the 7-2 is going to do that, provide transportation from the Olivewood community and go right behind Tournament Hills and trying to think of Fairway Canyon.
Okay.
So we're trying to match their need with the 7-2 changes.
All right, very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember White.
Yes, I might have a question for you still. So what do you mean when you say we're going to mirror their hours? Aren't we already doing that?
We are making some adjustments. The Route 3, for example, right now, it needs to be just cleaned up a little bit. And it's just so that there's not a longer wait time for the students. That's what's happening right now.
Which one's Route 3? What direction does that go?
The Route 3 services northbound through Sundance.
Okay.
And then it goes towards Cherry Valley and circles back to the high school.
So right now, we're looking at adjusting the time points, just so that right now the students aren't waiting such a longer period. They're going to be waiting less time.
And that's probably one of the routes I wanted to talk to you about, because I've gotten comments from parents who live in that area that the bus gets there after school starts, or it gets there an hour before school starts. And that when you say you're going to mirror their hours, I'm hoping that those kinds of issues will be addressed.
It's going to be less of a wait time for students. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're trying to
Less
clean
of
it
a
up.
wait time at.
After
the-
school is where it really is an impact right now.
Well, what I'm hearing, it's before school. If I wait, if I go on the first bus that comes through, my kid gets there an hour before school starts. If I wait for the next bus, they get there as the bells are ringing.
And I can speak to that. That is an issue that we have with public transit. For anybody that's dropping their kids off at the high school, it is bumper to bumper traffic. The buses get in that traffic. And that Route 3 is on a 1-hour loop right now, so that's the 1-hour gap that you're talking about.
Mhm.
But in order to effectively get through that traffic, we either have to drop them off before all of the parents are dropping their kids off, which puts them there relatively a long time before the bell starts. So we're trying to figure out how to get the buses through
Okay.
the traffic without delaying the students.
Well, I know how to solve all these problems. You have the schools do the busing. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
And yes,
I mean, that was a mistake made 10 years ago, in my opinion, but anyways.
Any further comment? No? Anyone? A couple of questions for me. So for the 5 years, we know we're going to be hitting that at some point once it's certified. So what's the plan now to get there? Are we waiting for that so we can develop our plan of how we're going to meet the 20%, or are we already in progress? Or, I just want just a quick little synopsis of what.
Understood.
you're working.
They plan to stair step us, they keep calling it, they're gonna stair step us into 20%. So we're not gonna have to go to 20% overnight. It may be 14, 15, 18, 19, 20. We're not sure yet. They're not even sure. However, with us evaluating our routes and our numbers, we're looking at 12.4 next year, so we hope. So the following year, we're gonna continue to build on that, and then, like I said, we're learning the financial strategy on the back end that we may or may not have been doing appropriately in the past. Take vehicle maintenance, for example. There's things that we can do, that we can catalog differently, a repair from a preventative maintenance on a bus. We can catalog those differently so that it doesn't hurt our fare box, if that makes appropriate sense. So we're learning those strategies from RCTC staff on how to properly account for those so that we can structure our budget appropriately and catalog our expenses appropriately to continue to increase that percent. And then using that LC Top funding, I think on the phone call last week, they've committed to over $300,000 over the next 3 years for us to offset our fare box, basically, to offset offer free fares, discounted fares, whatever we want to do with it. But we can still catalog full fare value towards our fare box ratio recovery. That
And we're
makes sense.
using that for this budget to get the 12.4.
Correct.
Right? So did I hear you right, that you're asking for a fair increase?
We are. We will be coming, if council approves this plan this evening, we would like to come back with a fare increase that would be offset by the LC Top funding. So there would be no increase to our passengers for the most part. They're not going to see it because we're going to continue the free fare. So they won't see the increase for at least the next 3 years.
Okay, all right. Because when I read the budget, I saw and I didn't quite get that part. but-
Yes.
Okay, now.
It was a recommendation back in 2020, and RCTC is finally paying attention to the recommendations in the COA, things that come up in the audit that we are or are not doing. So we're trying to get in line with them and make sure that we're doing what they're recommending to get us where we need to go.
Okay, very well. Any further comment or questions?
And I apologize, I've lost my voice this
Then it asks to review and provide direction with the transit services budget. So I am in favor of proceeding.
I do have one quick question.
Okay, Mr. White, go ahead.
Some of the ideas that the caller brought up, I think were some good ideas. And I'm wondering if there's a way to sort of a trip out to the desert, not on a daily basis, but sort of on, maybe just to try it out to see if there is, a demand for that. And then also when we're taking the trips to Redlands, we're going to the train station there and then they get on from there.
Correct.
Okay, that was all I had. Thank you.
Actually, that brings up another point. So we have, so we're not doing the Cal State bus right now, right? Is that RTA?
No.
That's Sunline.
Or
That's
Sunline,
Sunline.
okay. So if we were to do something like this, does that overlap with their routes?
It would
That-
overlap
that's what I
because
was
there is
afraid of.
existing service from the Walmart station to the desert.
So they're servicing our residents for that Palm Desert
Correct.
campus?
That is one of their switching.
Is that one of the, okay, so we are having access.
So we
to
have
that.
explored it in the past, included it in the survey, asking the passengers who would, but those that need to get there are using the Sunline,
Yeah, 'cause I
existing
remember
Sunline to get out
We
there.
talked about that overlap and the,
Yes.
the different routes
Yes.
and so forth, so, okay.
Can I add something to
Oh,
that
please
too? So I have brought it to Eric from RCTC's attention and just talked about it a bit. I'd like to bring you an update at a later time so I can give you a full scope of, what he'd like us to do. Because I have brought it up to him, it's been asked that we evaluate that plenty of times. So we are, and I just been closely working with him.
Oh, okay, and I appreciate that, because at our last mayor's meeting, that Palm Desert campus is gonna start going, and that access for our community members to that is gonna be critical. So I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're providing direction. So do you have direction? Do we have any further comment? We're good? All right. With that, it'll bring us to J3, the Tesla Addendum to Energy Products Purchase Agreement. Staff report, let's see, J3. Mr. Van Bell, haha.
Mayor, unless there's an objection, I'd like to move to approve this item.
I have no objection. Do we have any objection from council, or would you like to hear staff report?
No objection, but do we have public comment?
All right. So if we have no objection, I'll ask for public comment. Do we have public comment on this item?
I don't have any written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I thought I made that.
I'll second.
Okay.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn,
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. Don't you worry, Thaxton, I read your report, so.
We all did,
We all
otherwise I
did.
wouldn't have suggested that, so.
All right, J4.
Fantastically written, Thaxton.
Yes, it was really well done. J4, J4 is the award of professional service agreement to RHA Landscape Architects for a Parks and Community Service Master Plan, an amount not to exceed $249,980, capital improvement project CIP number P-17.
Doug Story is on Zoom. He is actually on vacation, but he is so passionate about this that he is zooming in from wherever he is in the world.
Oh, thank you, you committed, thank you.
Thank you. Council, I am excited and I am happy. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I am excited and I'm happy to get this process started. This is something that when I first came to the city, and Elizabeth and I would talk about this in community services, as this is a process that we need to go through with our city. And so we're very happy to start this. And tonight with this staff report, I'm asking to award a professional services agreement to RHA for a parks and community services master plan. And basically, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for our community to have a comprehensive study and a comprehensive process to go and take a look at the services that we provide through recreation, to take a look at the parks that we have, the park amenities that we have. What does our city lack? What do we need to have a better maintenance schedule for? What needs to be replaced? What needs to be added into the CIP? It begins to allow us to have a document to follow when opportunities arise for grants, we can begin to prepare shovel-ready projects so that when we go before agencies and entities that can award these grants, we have a better framework to start that process and start that application process. And so the city opened up an RFP process to receive bids. We did receive 2 bids for the Parks and Community Services Master Plan. We then reviewed those as a staff. Then we went to our RFP subcommittee and presented our recommendation, which was to present this award to RHA. One of the things that stood out to me personally as I went through the submittals was just the number of hours that were included in there. So each of the firms provided a cost analysis and cost estimate of what it would be. And then they also provided the number of hours that they would be putting into the services. And when I compared the two, the end product that RHA was going to provide and the number of hours really stood above the other one, almost by an additional 900 hours that they were going to provide for the city, which I thought was a great opportunity for us. And then also just going through them and knowing the reputation from Mr. Doug Grove and RHA and just the things that he's been able to do for other cities in providing a parks master plan for them. I was just really excited that we had the opportunity to partner with RHA in this process. And so we do have Doug. He's on Zoom with us as well, probably not on vacation, but he is here. If you guys had any questions for him, but I've known Doug for several years. For CPRS, he's actually going to be our state president this year for CPRS. I've met him through many years and just has a great reputation in our state and most specifically with doing these projects and these types of services for other cities. So I'm excited to award that opportunity to him and his firm. We do have this included in our CIP. It is a P17, so it's fully funded right now. We set some money aside in there, knowing that this was something that we wanted to move forward with in the future. And so we're ready to go through that. And I'm also happy to say that this accomplishes one of the strategic plans that was a draft a couple of minutes ago, but we're moving through that. So that is this was actually target 5, goal number 3. Priority level 2 was to start the master plan process, and so we're excited to be able to do that this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Story. Do we have public comment?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, bring it over to council. Councilmember White? No? All right. Anything else? Quick question. I just want to comment that, we had talked about doing a plan a little while back, and, I like the way that we have it set up and that they gave us their interpretation of site inventory analysis to kind of the needs analysis, really, and then going into the stakeholder input and so forth. I really like the way it's laid out. The hour difference, I was really astonished. And I appreciate that because at 1676, it seems much more realistic on something of this scope. So I do appreciate that. And I have to fully support this. And if I don't see any comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with RHA Landscaping Architects Planners and approve a purchase order in amount of not to exceed $249,980 allocated to CIP number P17.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes, thank you and congratulations. Appreciate it. And thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
I know I see the Disneyland Castle in the background. We are on J5. That'll take us to award a public works contract to Dalk & Sons Construction, Inc. for construction of CIP CF-104 City Hall renovations in the amount not to exceed $2,498,483. Mr. Hart, staff report.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. In January of this year, CIP CF 104, which as you mentioned is the City Hall renovation project, was advertised for construction. The project includes renovation of the existing restrooms, addition of new restrooms and mother's room, new office space for customer service and finance, a new customer services counter, a complete new roof, upgrading of the HVAC, fire system, fire alarms, and then as well as some plumbing, electrical, and fire sprinkler improvements. 4 bids were received and opened on February 16th, ranging from about 2.5 to 2.8 million, with Dalkey and Sons Construction being the apparent lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Both staff and the city attorney reviewed the contract and bid documents and confirmed that Dalkey and Sons bid substantially conforms to the bid requirements. Within your staff report, there's a project accounting, which includes a funding summary for the project as well as a budget summary. And with that, it's recommended that staff award a public works agreement to Dalkey and Sons Construction for construction of the City Hall renovations project, an amount not to exceed $2,498,483, as well as authorize the city manager to sign change orders to up to an additional $209,549. For a total construction amount of $2,708,032. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hart. Public comment?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. Seeing no public comment, I'll open it up for council discussion or a motion. Great. Seeing none, I'll make the motion to authorize city staff to award a public work agreement to Dalkey and Sons Construction, Inc. for construction of CIP CF 104 City Hall renovations in the amount not to exceed $2,498,483.
I'll second that.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hart. With that, that brings us to J6, the improvement deferral agreement between Beaumont ESS LLC and the City of Beaumont. Staff report once again.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. So in October 2021, the Planning Commission approved a project for a 100-megawatt lithium-ion storage battery storage location. It's on Veely, just west side of Veely, south of First Street, or excuse me, east side of Veely, south of First Street, and west of Elm. It's immediately south of that Edison substation that is there. One of the conditions of approval for the project is requiring half-street improvements along their frontage on Veely as well as Elm. The improvements that are being required on Veely, there are existing transmission power poles that are in conflict with the ultimate construction of those half-width improvements. And so the relocation of these transmission lines are currently seeing a minimum of 9 months plus delay for relocation. And so the developers requested a deferral of those improvements for up to 1 year from the issuance of occupancy. The Beaumont Municipal Code does allow this with city council concurrence. And some of the terms of the agreement will still require that the developer provide a security prior to the completion of the offsite improvements, but this deferral agreement would effectively delay that 1 year. The security for those agreements would need to be accepted by council prior to the issuance of occupancy for that project. And with that, the recommended action is to authorize the mayor to execute a deferral agreement between Beaumont ESS LLC and the City of Beaumont regarding delaying the offsite improvements for the TerraGen project.
All right, thank you for that. Public comment?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, see no public comment. I'll open up for council discussion. We have a few of you. Okay. Councilmember White, discussion?
Sure, Mr. Hart, the recommended action is that we authorize the deferral. Why is that recommended? Why should?
Well, the deferral will allow the developer, the builder, to begin construction of their on-site improvements, become operational, and not, incur anticipated delays, from an outside agency, that it doesn't allow them to open for business. We would,
Thank you. Mr. Lara?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So, Mr. Hart, is this project, isn't this going to tie into those transmission lines, or is it not?
it will tie into the substation that is immediately adjacent.
Okay, so the relocation of the power lines will not affect that tie-in for that project, is that correct?
No, not directly.
Okay. Who follows up to make sure that the developer is moving forward with Edison? I know that the application process and going with the planners is an 8-month process. Have they started that process now?
Yeah, so they have initiated or began the process, but until they are further along in the finalizing of their development drawings, not only on-site and off-site, Edison will not get them on the books for those relocations.
Okay, that makes sense. When I used to work for the county, they used to bond or they would have securities. And I know that projects where they had to call a bond, it was sometimes difficult to pay on the agency that you're working with to call that bond. It starts a whole litany of paperwork. It takes a lot of time. Is there any way that we could ask for a cash security so if something went wrong, or is that not allowed to go strictly cash? You have to have the option?
I may have to defer to the state attorney. I think that it certainly is the ability to request that if it was the consensus of the council could be asked, but I'm not entirely sure whether.
Yeah, if we could do that. I mean, it just, like I said, sometimes it just creates a lot of issues when you start to call a bond. Bond companies don't like to pay. So typically that's at least been my experience.
Yeah, so I mean, per our code, which is maybe independent of this agreement, but, allowable means of security are a bond, but also a letter of credit or a cash deposit.
Okay.
I don't know if any of those.
If we have a bonded improvement and they don't perform, then we can foreclose on the bond. There's a process to do
Right.
that.
That
And
starts
I
the
understand
process,
that bonding companies sometimes will fight it, and I've litigated those cases through trial, and, but there is a process that's available.
Yeah, and therein lies my concern, because we'd be giving basically certificate of occupancy on a project that doesn't have those improvements done. And then after the fact, it's just kind of difficult, or hopefully it wouldn't be difficult, but you understand my point. And then one last question. I'm thinking eventually this project would become decommissioned at some point. Do we bond for that to make sure that the developer removes the items on that site?
I can speak to that. The municipal code, we have a section regulating these energy storage facilities. In that, there is a decommissioning plan requirement. It allows staff to have the option to ask for bond, for cash, or for letter of credit, and it must run in perpetuity with the project.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn.
Oh, sorry, at this point, I was just gonna make a motion if there was any else.
Nope, I
Okay.
think you may.
So I'd like, I move that, we authorize the mayor to execute a deferral improvement agreement between Beaumont ESS LLC and the city of Beaumont regarding the delayed offsite improvements associated with TerraGen battery energy storage project.
Now, do you want, with your cash request?
If they could make the request for cash and see how that works?
I would approve the agreement the way it is, and then if, the company may decide that they want to put cash up because then they don't have to pay the premiums, but that request could be made, but I'd approve it the way it is.
Okay, so if that doesn't put us tied to this. if
And
we
leave
decide-
them the option to
Okay,
switch it out to cash.
That's what I wanted to make sure. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn,
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. Okay, with that, it'll bring us to J7, the approval of the city attorney invoices for the month of February 2023.
Excuse me. Because this involves my law firm, I'm going to recuse myself.
Thank you. Do we have public comment on J7?
I have no written comment. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, with that, Mr. White? Relying on for motion or?
Yes, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Goy?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. All right, that takes us through our action items. So we are on item K, the legislative update and discussion. Ms. Taylor.
Good evening, Mayor. Part of the legislative update this evening is bringing back Senate Bill 602. At the last meeting, Mayor, you requested some information be brought back, and that the city of Lake Elsinore is requesting support from various cities for this bill. So I wanted to just highlight for you some of the items that this bill is addressing. So currently, cities are, or law enforcement agencies in cities are able to make or go onto private property if there's a letter of agency, meaning permission has been given by a property owner for police to enforce, to remove trespassers or homeless, et cetera, that have taken residency or are occupying a property that's not theirs. Right now, the law requires that an owner or an owner's agent or representative have to make that request every time this occurs. And so essentially what this SB 602 is proposing to do is allow a longer-term single request to be made and to be put on file with a law enforcement agency so that if a report is made that there's an issue on a particular piece of property, as long as the approval has been on file with the agency from the property owner, the law enforcement can go on and enforce the no trespass, or they can go through the appropriate means to abate the issue that's on site. So in theory, this would benefit not just the city of Lake Elsinore, it would benefit us in the city of Beaumont. We do utilize letters of agency here. We work with the police department to provide them to business owners. We've done a little bit of a campaign with our business owners downtown to do some outreach and get those letters of agency on file with them. And so, anyway, that's the abbreviated version. I'm happy to answer any details. I have the bill printout here if there's any specifics you would like. But in a nutshell, that's what's being proposed.
Thank you with that, and that's why I had asked, because I know we do have letters of agency, and I know how important they are for law enforcement getting what we get done, so I think that would be most appropriate. So, Mayor Pro Tem Finn?
Just a quick question, does that involve all property types?
It typically involves commercial or industrial, non-residential property types, although I would have to defer to PD if we deal with that on residential, I can find out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you for that. Direction, oh, you have a question?
No, I was
commenting
on the
distraction outside.
This is.
Oh, is that what that is? I thought somebody else.
This is consistent with the city's legislative platform, so if council would provide direction, I'm happy to prepare a letter of support for the mayor's signature.
All right, and if there's none opposed, I think would be great. All right, thank you. All right, that brings us to item L, the economic development update. Do you have further?
It's me again.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Oh,
have anything else for,
Okay, so I didn't cut you off.
for the legislative report unless you guys have anything else for me.
No, not yet. I might have some in the future here.
Okay.
My report.
Okay, so for the economic development update, a couple of items for you this evening. March 29th is our next downtown business owners, property owners meeting. It'll be held at the Craft Lounge. Food will be provided by the city, and we'll be discussing the downtown Beaumont revitalization plan that is currently underway. We'll have a representative from the consultant team there to chat with everybody and gather some information informally. We will, at that time, be able to talk about the next steps in that process, which will involve some community workshops that we'll be getting some dates out for. At that meeting, we're also going to unveil the Downtown Eats and Treats program. So there are some flyers that will be going out, and there are some, I think what you have up there on the dais or you've received are the coupon books, which are very exciting. We're super thankful for all the businesses that participate or chose to participate in that. And what's going to happen is the Downtown Eats and Treats program will allow people to come into City Hall or businesses and pick up a little, almost like a stamp card, like a little bingo card. And each of the businesses downtown that are the restaurants that are participating will have a sign in the window that the city's providing that's saying they're participating, and people can go in, order a dish off the menu, get a stamp on their card. When they filled their card, when they've eaten at all the participating restaurants, then they can come drop the card off here at the City of Beaumont. They're going to get a coupon book to all of in the coupon book is not just restaurants, it's other businesses as well. So get a coupon book, and then they're also going to be entered into drawing for various prizes. So I think our grand prize is a pretty big TV, and then there's some other little prizes that we'll be drawing to give out to folks as well. So we're going to unveil that and get some, hopefully some excitement going around that. And then lastly, our next EDC meeting will be April 12th.
Good question. So the April 29th is not a meeting per se.
March 29th.
March 29th is not the meeting.
It is, no, it is.
Just the unveiling and the,
Yeah, it's a downtown business meeting. So we had been having the roughly quarterly meetings with our downtown business owners to get input on all things downtown, things that were going on. And so we haven't had one since the holiday season, with the weather being the way it's just been a little bit of a challenge to schedule. So we think hopefully by the end of March we'll be good to go. So we've scheduled one. It's been quite a while. We need to get those going again for this year.
and the reason I asked is because I wanted to make sure we were clear with the Brown Act. So if I show up and, three of us are there, we're there in the audience, we're listening, we're talking to members, but we're not doing a quorum or any type of a meeting.
Correct. And there will be plenty of tables and space. This is not a city-sponsored meeting. This is a downtown business meeting. And so you're welcome to attend. Staff attends. We go as information gatherers and information providers.
What time does that start?
I believe it's 6 p.m.
You can attend an event put on by another entity or organization or group. You just can't go off in the corner and have a discussion about city business. As long as it's open to the public and it's publicly advertised, that folks in the community know they can go to it. It's put on by another organization.
And, right, very well, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Tate? Nope. Do you have some? Nope. All right, so, okay, thank you for that, appreciate it. With that, item M, City Treasurer Report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. One comment, I would like for you guys to consider the city treasurer to join the DC trip to secure funds for the city. Some or all of you may know, business owners / a financial figure may be able to help attending this event, walking the halls and doing all that stuff, and also show a commitment of financial transparency and solvency. So would like for the mayor and the council to consider. That's it. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that. And so is that something that would have to come to a agendized back for future for discussion?
Mayor, would you like me to do that?
Yeah, I will bring it back. So thank you for your comment on that. All right, with that, item N, City Clerk Report. Okay, very well, thank you. Item O, City Attorney Report.
And I gave my report at the last meeting, so I have nothing further to report this evening.
Thank you. Item P, City Manager Report.
While Thaxton is joining us to give a wastewater treatment plant update, I did want to just reiterate what Mr. Story had mentioned in his staff report. So if you look on item J4 under description, it says strategic plan, target 5, goal 3. You will see that from now on, now that we have a formally adopted strategic plan, you will see that from now on every staff report that, and the agenda that ties to one of the action items or goals set in the strategic plan.
Thank you.
As you may have noticed, we've had a little bit of rain lately. I think we've all added atmospheric river to our vocabularies. And we thought it was appropriate to give a little update on the wastewater treatment plant. It's my joy to announce that the plant is running in tip-top shape. All of our performance indicators are at or near the 100% level. And the treatment plant upgrade with the additions of the equalization basin and along the way, the membrane upgrades were a great investment and are proving to pay off well. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any questions for City Manager or Mr. Van Bell? Mr. Lara?
Question. I know that with the volume of rain that gets processed through our sewer plant, which is exciting, if you want to put it that way, but prior to that, if we didn't have the capacity to process the water, what would happen to this, to the runoff?
The original conventional plant would have definitely had, the biology would have been washed out with the continued sustained rain that we've had. And then we all know the challenges of the previous membrane manufacturer. We would have absolutely been backed up and had spills at this point with without the ability to process those levels of flow.
So without that ability to
Sustained,
process, that puts the city at risk for fines, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. And today we have registered none.
So-
I'm proud to announce.
Which is really exciting, and I guess what I'm getting after is how many gallons? So we had a 4 million gallon limit. We, with our approval or this new plant, we were supposed to have a 6 million gallon process, excuse me. How many millions of gallons of rainwater were we able to process and not dump, so to speak?
We've had peak rates of up to 12 MGD hitting the plant. Now, that's not a sustained over,
Right.
But peak rates of up to 12, and in just this last week, we consistently are hitting 8 MGD rates through the
Wow.
plant.
That's
And it's
fantastic.
handling it well. Yeah.
That's great news. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
hearing
you.
that.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, with that, item Q for future agenda items, we have one put on by request of City Treasurer. Any other? Councilmember White?
More of a request. We've been doing these suggestions for future agenda items for some time. Is there a list of what we've suggested, and could we get that, sort of some feedback on that? I know in the Economic Development Committee, the future agenda items are listed at the end of the, and it gives the opportunity for the group to say, hey, we want to push that one up. Let's see what we can do on that. So I personally don't remember all the future agenda items I made, but occasionally they come up and I think, oh, I thought I had requested that. And so if we could just get some feedback on previous requests, I would appreciate that.
Well, first of all, I would be happy to add it to the agenda. I know other cities do that, and it holds staff accountable for things that may be on the list longer than council would like to see. So we can add that.
Yeah, great.
Deputy City Clerk Wheelwright can add that.
Perfect.
I know the one topic that is coming to the next meeting is the sign ordinance discussion. That was a big one that was on the list. I actually don't have the rest of the list in front of me. It's on my board.
Oh, I don't expect you to know it all by heart,
But there's a tally on my board,
good.
so I'll have Ms. Wheelwright add that to the agenda.
I mean, some of them we may be at a point where we don't need them. We may have discussed it and dealt with them in a different way.
The SB 602 was one of the requested ones to come
Okay.
back, and then the California Business Roundtable discussion, the initiative that's on the ballot for next year. That one is still being discussed internally.
A question regarding that. So if they're listed on the agenda, are we able then to have a quick discussion of, we want this one moved up in priority, this one pushed down? Can we get to that level?
Do that at that level.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to go into the substantive merits of the items and have a full discussion, because they're really just listed as future agenda items. But I think you could talk about which one you want to take first in order.
It also might be helpful if you know that you're bringing that item in June or July, if you have an idea, because some of these items, I know you have to do some background work before you're ready to bring it to us. So that would be useful. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. With that, then, that'll take us to item R, council reports. Mayor Pro Tem Finn, will you go first for us?
Yes, thank you. On the 14th, I attended a PASCON meeting, and we had Robert Vestal from the city give a presentation to our emergency preparedness group and all the work that we're doing for traffic solutions and so forth. He did a really good job. So, Jeff, if you can give him some kudos on that, I'd appreciate that. What was announced there as well, and I wanted to pass this on, is on April 15th, the city of Banning, at their Banning Community Center from 10 to 2, is putting on an emergency preparedness expo or disaster preparedness expo. So it's nice to pass on and let the public know about that. On the 14th, I had the opportunity to get a tour of the library. We had a presentation from the Historical Society, and in attendance we had members of Congressman Ruiz's office from Washington, D.C. And I might be stealing some other council members' thunder on this, but then we were able to meet with them at the Pennsylvania Railroad crossing, and perfect timing with trains. They had to wait on one of them to get there, and there were a total of 3 of them that came by while we were there. So, point proven. And then also, attended just a veterans Zoom meeting that I've been invited to, and it's a reminder that we have a Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home event this Friday, the 24th at Noble Creek Park at 4 p.m. And then I do have a question for staff. We have a city volunteer opportunity with cleanup at DeForge Park. With members of the public showing up, is there anything they need to bring for that, or they just show up with gloves on and work boots, or what would be expected?
I would recommend heavy boots and gloves because it is a pretty active park.
So no tools are needed or anything like that?
No, but I'll confirm that with Mr. Story. We will provide all of the trash bags and everything like that.
So in general, if it's an activity of that nature, that would be just the general requirement of the public, just show up, gloves and boots and long sleeves or whatever. Okay, all right.
Does that mean?
That cleanup is this Saturday, correct?
That's what
Let me look at my calendar.
Vietnam vets, they're moving to the Chapney Center.
Oh, okay,
thank
very
you.
good, thank you. Okay,
No, the copper room.
The copper rooms.
Yeah, not the Chapney
Not the
Center.
Okay, so they're going to the copper.
Their own conference room, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And the DeForge cleanup is April 29th, I believe.
April 29.
Yeah, it's not this Saturday.
okay, all right, what was I thinking this Saturday for?
You're getting excited.
Oh, it was a citywide.
That was last Saturday.
All right, okay, so I got the date wrong on that, but the 29th for DeForge Park, okay,
April 29th.
April 29th. All right.
It is?
Yes. Okay, thank you, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you for that, Vietnam. I would have been sitting at the park waiting for.
Yes. We went upstairs due to the rain, due to the weather.
Okay, thank you for that. Next, Councilmember Voigt.
Thank you, Mayor. This week and last week, I was able to attend 2 Cal City committee appointments, a fundraiser committee as well as a policy committee. The fundraiser committee, more to come on that one. They're planning a cornhole tournament later on in the year. So I got wrapped into that and excited to help them with that. And then as far as it goes with the policy committee, they're really focused on some telecommuting policies that the Cal Cities is co-sponsoring, and still pending their support on or opposition on numerous other bills. As we know, there was a record amount that were proposed. So we are discussing some regarding labor. There was some things on there for law enforcement and other things like that. So.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? One other thing. I apologize. We also attended the Banning Chamber Dinner. Thank you to those of you that endured 2 hours of traffic on our way there. But I wanted to thank Councilmember Lara and City Manager Elizabeth. Two of the Banning Council members really appreciated your attendance at their meeting, and they just went over and over and over again about how they can feel the collaboration between the cities. So I appreciate that hand that you guys extended there as well.
Good job. Thank you. Councilmember White?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Oh, for that comment?
For the last comment. Neither of them made the drive out to Morongo.
He's talking about the
No.
Banning, when they went to the Banning Council meeting.
Oh, okay.
That he'll probably tell us in his report when we get there.
Thanks for pointing that out, I appreciate that.
I was just going to say, now we know.
Some of us endured the 2 hours because we knew we had colleagues there. We didn't want them to be there alone. You're welcome. So I went to the Banning installation at Morongo. I also attended the Highland Springs interchange town hall. And pouring down rain, parking was packed, the place was packed. As I'm walking in, one lady turns to me and she says, "What's this all about tonight?" And I said, "Well, it's about the interchange." And she said, "Oh yeah, it's all over social media that this is about warehouses tonight." And that was one reason we got such a large turnout. And I spoke to Aaron Hake with RCTC and explained to him that we really need to do it again, and we need to do it in a better venue, not in such a small room. And we need to get the word out that it's to deal with traffic, it's not to bring more traffic. So I would ask the city Aaron said that he would reach out to us, so if you could reach out to him as well to get that done. I also attended the Cal Cities meeting in Cathedral City, and they have a really cool park there, right next to the City Hall. The stage they have there, I've started seeing those in a number of different places. So it's a permanent structure, but it's all open. So anyways, I just wanted to report on that. And then I will not be going to DC because I'm getting, going under the knife on April 13th for rotator cuff repair surgery. So I will not be attending DC. And so I just want to get that out there in case reservations are being made. And that's all I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Lara?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, as Councilmember Voigt indicated, Thaxton, City Manager Gibbs and I attended the Banning City Council meeting as indicated to thank them for their efforts and support. Oh, it went very well, obviously. Unfortunately, I couldn't endure the 2-hour uphill both ways to the installation dinner, and I apologize. I did attempt to do that.
It was only 15 minutes coming home.
Uphill. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. All right, I too attended the Cal Cities meeting in Cat City, and I agree, it's a beautiful venue. And I really do like that idea, hint, hint. So we'll see how we can maybe talk about some similar stuff. Of course, the Youth Council had its second meeting, and that report from Ms. Diaz kind of went over what we talked about. And the kids are very excited, the students are very excited, and they really did some, Mr. Story could attend when he gets off the roller coasters. They really put input. They were really excited, and they had some very intelligent talk, and I was very impressed. And Ms. Taylor was there as well, and I think she would agree that it was nice to see the input and comments that they had. I attended the League of Cities Environmental Control Committee meeting, the 4-hour meeting on Zoom. But very informative. We talked about different types of legislation and of course, the league's approach to environmental quality. And the committee did vote to support the climate bonds that are being proposed, AB 1567, SB 638, and SB 867 coming up. But of course, the committee's job is to recommend to the league the position, and then the league goes from there to decide whether they want to support that or not. And then we did talk about SB 69, which was the CEQA change. And it's something that we might want to look at. The league is looking at a no approach, and I would probably agree. The idea of having all documents go to the clearinghouse, state clearinghouse, is absolutely crazy. And it's the idea of stalling everything. It's just, to me, is more cumbersome than ever before. So we can talk about that, but that was our discussion and main point. We heard from Cal Recycle as well. And I too met with Congressman Ruiz's DC staff, and I'm glad they made the time to come out and talk to us and see firsthand. So that will definitely help as we go and argue our case up in DC. And with that, we can adjourn the meeting at 8:19 p.m.